The morning sun rose over New Busan Colony, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Jiwoo stood at the window of her small apartment, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold in her hands. She was 34 years old, with tired eyes that had seen too much. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore plain civilian clothes, nothing special, nothing that would make anyone look twice at her. Outside, the colony was waking up. New Busan was a small human settlement on the edge of explored space. About 5,000 people lived here, mostly farmers and miners. It was quiet. It was safe. That was why Jiwoo had chosen it 8 years ago when she decided to disappear. She finished her coffee and grabbed her jacket. Today she had 3 students to teach. Basic shuttle operation, nothing complicated. The kind of flying that any person could learn in a few months. It was boring work, but boring was good. Boring meant no one asked questions. Boring meant she could forget who she used to be. The flight school was a small building near the spaceport. Jiwoo walked there slowly, nodding to the few people she passed. They knew her as Hana, a quiet woman who kept to herself. They didn't know anything else, and that was how she wanted it. Her first student was waiting outside. His name was Jun, a 17-year-old kid with messy hair and too much energy. He bounced on his feet when he saw her. "Teacher, are we flying today?" he asked. "We fly every day, Jun," Jiwoo said. She tried not to smile but failed. The kid reminded her of her younger brother. That thought made her chest hurt, so she pushed it away. They spent the morning in an old training shuttle. Jun practiced takeoffs and landings. He was getting better, but he was still too rough with the controls. He jerked the stick instead of guiding it smoothly. "Easy," Jiwoo said. "The ship is not your enemy. Work with it, not against it." "But I want to go faster," Jun complained. "Speed means nothing if you crash," she replied. "Besides, you're flying a cargo shuttle, not a fighter." Jun sighed dramatically. "I wish I could fly a fighter. Like the ones in the defense fleet, that would be amazing." Jiwoo's hands tightened on her knees. Fighters are not amazing. They're dangerous. Most pilots don't last a year in combat. "But some do," Jun said. "I read about this pilot called Ghost. She fought in the border wars 8 years ago. They say she destroyed over 300 enemy ships by herself." 300. Can you imagine? Jiwoo could imagine it very well. She had been there. She had been Ghost. She changed the subject quickly. "Focus on your landing. You're coming in too steep." The day passed like any other day. 2 more students after June, both adults learning to fly for work, then paperwork, then maintenance checks on the training shuttles. Jiwoo finished everything by evening. She bought dinner from a small restaurant, some rice and vegetables, and headed home. But when she got to her apartment, something felt wrong. The door was locked like she had left it, but there was a smell in the air. Ozone. The same smell that came from military-grade communication devices. Jiwoo's heart raced. She put down her dinner and walked carefully through her apartment. In her bedroom, on her desk, a small holographic projector sat waiting. It hadn't been there this morning. Someone had broken in and left it for her. She stared at it for a long moment. Every instinct told her to destroy it and run. But a bigger part of her needed to know who had found her. She pressed the activation button. A man's face appeared in the blue light. He was in his 40s with short gray hair and a military uniform. Jiwoo recognized him immediately. Captain Minho. They had served together during the border wars. He had been her wingman, the only pilot who could keep up with her tactics. "Hello, Ghost," Minho's recording said. "I know you're alive. I've always known, but I respected your choice to leave, so I never looked for you. Now I have to break that promise." The hologram shifted to show star maps and battle reports. Jiwoo saw the red markers indicating enemy positions. There were too many of them. Hundreds of red dots spreading across coalition space like a disease. "The Velcron are back," Minho continued. "They're hitting us everywhere at once. We've lost 12 colonies in the past month. Our pilots are being slaughtered. They've evolved their tactics somehow. Everything we try fails. We're losing this war." Jiwoo's hands shook. The Velcron. She remembered them well. Insect-like aliens with organic ships that moved like living creatures. They had appeared 8 years ago from unknown space and attacked everything they found. The border wars had lasted 3 years and killed millions. Humanity had won barely by learning to fight in ways the Velcron couldn't predict. Jiwoo had been the best at that. Ghost had been the nightmare the Velcron feared. The hologram showed more images. Burning ships, destroyed colonies, and then a list of casualties. Jiwoo's eyes found a name and her world stopped. Lieutenant Taehyun Han, killed in action, her brother. Her baby brother. The one she had been watching from far away, proud that he had joined the defense fleet, terrified every day that something would happen to him. And now he was dead. Dead while she hid in a peaceful colony, teaching kids to fly cargo shuttles. Minho's face returned. I'm sorry about Taehyun. He was a good pilot, brave like his sister. His last words were about you. He said he wished Ghost was still alive to teach him how to fly like her. He never knew you were his sister, did he? No, he didn't. Jiwoo had faked her death before Taehyun had even joined the military.
He had grown up thinking his older sister had died in a classified mission.
She had watched his career from the shadows, proud and heartbroken at the same time. I'm not asking you to come back, Minho said. I know why you left. I know what they wanted you to do on that last mission. You were right to refuse, but I'm telling you what's happening. The Velcron are going to win this time. They're going to kill everyone. Every human in every colony. New Busan too, eventually. They're coming for all of us. The hologram flickered. I don't know if you'll help. But if you decide to fight, if you decide to be Ghost one more time, send me a signal. I'll be waiting. We all will be. Because right now you're the only hope we have left. The image disappeared. The projector shut down. Jiwoo sat in the darkness of her apartment, surrounded by silence. She thought about Taehyun. She thought about the millions who had died. She thought about the millions more who would die if the Velcron weren't stopped. She thought about Jun and his dreams of being a fighter pilot. She thought about all her students, all the innocent people on New Busan who had no idea what was coming for them. Jiwoo had run away 8 years ago because she had refused to become a monster. The military had ordered her to destroy a Velcron civilian station. Thousands of aliens would have died, including children. She had said no. They had threatened to court-martial her. So she had faked her death and disappeared. For 8 years she had lived in peace. For 8 years she had been nobody. For 8 years she had told herself it was better this way. But peace was an illusion. War had found her again. It always did. Jiwoo stood up and walked to her closet. In the back, hidden behind old clothes, was a locked metal case. She hadn't opened it in 8 years. Inside was her old flight suit, her medals, and her pilot identification tags. The name on the tags read, Lieutenant Commander Han Jiwoo. Call sign Ghost. She closed the case. Not yet. She wasn't ready yet. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Velcron were coming. And when they arrived at New Busan, Jiwoo would have to make a choice. Stay hidden and watch everyone die, or fly one more time and become Ghost again. She had a feeling she already knew what choice she would make. 3 days had passed since Jiwoo received Minho's message. She hadn't responded. Instead, she had gone back to her routine, teaching students, checking shuttles, pretending everything was normal. But at night she couldn't sleep. She kept seeing her brother's name on that casualty list. It was a Tuesday morning. When the alarm started screaming, Jiwoo was at the flight school with Jun when every speaker in the colony began broadcasting the same message. This is not a drill. Hostile ships detected. All civilians proceed to evacuation shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Jun's face went pale. Teacher, what's happening? Jiwoo was already moving toward the window. In the sky she could see them. Dark shapes dropping out of hyperspace, dozens of them. Velcron ships. They looked like massive insects, all curves and organic armor. Their weapons were already firing. Green energy beams cutting through the air. The colony's defense turrets fired back, but it was useless. New Busan only had 6 defensive platforms. The Velcron had brought 30 ships. This wasn't a battle. This was an execution. Jun, listen to me, Jiwoo said, grabbing his shoulders. Get to the evacuation shuttles. Take everyone you can find. Go now. But what about you? Jun asked. I'll be right behind you. Go, Jun ran. Jiwoo watched him disappear toward the shelters, then she turned and sprinted in the opposite direction. Not toward safety. Toward the old hangar at the edge of the spaceport. Outside, the colony was chaos. People were screaming and running. Buildings were burning. A Velcron fighter swooped low over the street, its weapons cutting through a residential block. Jiwoo saw bodies. She kept running. The old hangar was used for storage. Nobody came here anymore. The door was locked, but Jiwoo kicked it open. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline, from rage. These aliens had killed her brother. Now they were killing innocent people. Children. Families. People who had never hurt anyone. Inside the hangar, covered in dust and forgotten, sat an old training fighter. It was a Mark 7 Falcon, outdated by modern standards but still functional. Jiwoo had checked on it secretly over the years, making sure it stayed flight ready. She had told herself she was just being cautious. Now she knew the truth. Part of her had always known she would need it again. She climbed into the cockpit. The controls felt familiar under her hands, like coming home after a long journey. She powered up the systems. The engine coughed, hesitated, then roared to life. Warning lights flickered on the dashboard. Low fuel, worn weapon systems, outdated shields. This fighter had been decommissioned for good reasons. Jiwoo didn't care. She strapped in and opened a communication channel to the evacuation area. This is Han Jiwoo to all evacuation shuttles. Get everyone on board now. I'm going to buy you time. Who is this? A voice responded. This is a military channel. Identify yourself. There's no time. Just get those people into space. I'll handle the fighters. Jiwoo didn't wait for a response. She fired the engines and launched. The Falcon shot out of the hangar and into the burning sky. Immediately, warning sensors started screaming. 12 Velcran fighters had detected her. They broke off from bombing the colony and turned toward her. 12 against 1. Bad odds for anyone else. For Ghost, it was just another day. Jiwoo's mind shifted into combat mode. Everything became clear. Time seemed to slow down. She saw the Velcran ships moving in their standard attack pattern. 3 groups of 4 trying to box her in. They thought she was just another desperate civilian pilot about to die. They had no idea what was about to happen. She dove toward the planet's surface, dropping so low that her shields scraped the tops of buildings. The Velcran followed, firing their green energy beams. Jiwoo rolled left, then right, then dropped even lower. The beams missed by centimeters, destroying buildings behind her. She felt bad about that, but right now those buildings were already evacuated. People were all that mattered. The first Velcran group closed in from above. They thought they had her trapped against the ground. Instead, Jiwoo pulled up hard at the last second, her fighter climbing vertical. The sudden change in direction caught the aliens by surprise. She armed her missiles, locked onto the nearest Velcran ship, and fired. The missile hit center mass. The Velcran fighter exploded into green flame. 11 left. The other Velcran screamed in their strange alien language. Their formation broke as they scrambled to respond. That was their first mistake. Jiwoo had fought Velcran before. She knew they were dangerous in formation, but confused when that formation broke. She used that. She rolled inverted and dove through the middle of the second group. Her cannons fired in precise bursts. One Velcran tried to dodge but moved right into her line of fire. Its wing exploded. The ship spiraled down and crashed into the empty fields outside the colony. 10 left. Jiwoo checked her sensors. The evacuation shuttles were launching. Good. She just needed to keep the fighters busy a little longer. The third group of Velcran came at her from the side, trying to catch her in a crossfire. She killed her engines completely, letting momentum carry her forward while her ship went dead. The Velcran overshot, confused. Their sensors had lost her. She reignited the engines and came up behind them. 3 clean shots, 3 explosions, 7 left. Now the remaining Velcran were scared. She could tell by how they moved, faster, more frantic. They regrouped and came at her all at once, abandoning tactics for pure aggression. That was their second mistake. Jiwoo led them on a chase through the colony airspace. She flew between buildings, under bridges, through narrow gaps that no sane pilot would attempt. Her fighters' warning systems never stopped screaming, but her hands stayed steady on the controls. The Velcran followed, firing constantly, but they couldn't hit her. They were too big, too slow. Every time they thought they had her, she would do something impossible. A barrel roll through a gap barely wider than her ship. A sudden stop that made them fly past. A backwards flip that no human pilot should be able to survive. But Jiwoo wasn't just any pilot. She was Ghost. One by one, she picked them off. A missile here. A cannon burst there. 2 more Velcran collided with each other, trying to follow her maneuvers. Within 5 minutes, all 12 fighters were destroyed. Jiwoo pulled up high above the colony and checked her sensors. The evacuation shuttles were clear. They had made it to orbit. Hundreds of lives saved. Relief flooded through her. Then her fighter started beeping. A new contact, big one. She looked up and felt her heart sink. A Velcran cruiser was dropping out of hyperspace directly above the colony. The fighters had just been scouts. The real attack was about to begin. Jiwoo looked at her fuel gauge. Almost empty. Her weapons were at 10%. Her shields were barely functioning. There was no way she could fight a cruiser, but she couldn't run either. If that cruiser started firing, it would destroy the remaining infrastructure. There were still people down there. Medical teams. Emergency responders. They needed more time. Jiwoo gritted her teeth and pointed her fighter at the massive alien ship. She fired her last 2 missiles. They hit the cruiser's shields and did nothing. The cruiser's weapons began charging. Massive energy cannons that would level the entire colony with one shot. This was it. This was where Ghost died for real. Jiwoo had accepted it. At least June and the others were safe. At least she had tried. Then the space around her lit up with weapons fire. But not Velcran weapons. Human weapons. Coalition weapons. 6 destroyer-class warships dropped out of hyperspace, their cannons blazing. The Velcran cruiser's shields flared under the assault. It tried to turn and fight back, but the coalition ships were already surrounding it. Jiwoo's communication panel crackled to life. A voice she recognized spoke. "Ghost, this is Captain Minho. I tracked your signal. Took us a while to get here. Sorry about the delay." The coalition ships tore into the Velcran cruiser. Without its fighter support, the cruiser couldn't defend itself. Its shields collapsed. Its hull ruptured. Within 2 minutes, it was breaking apart, burning as it fell into the atmosphere. "Ghost, return to base," Minho said. "We'll secure the area." Jiwoo wanted to respond, but suddenly she felt exhausted. The adrenaline was fading. Her hands were shaking. She set her fighter on automatic approach and let it guide her down to the spaceport. When she landed, a crowd was waiting. June was there, and her other students and hundreds of colonists who had seen the battle. They were cheering, calling her a hero. Jiwoo climbed out of the cockpit and nearly collapsed. June ran forward and caught her. "Teacher, that was amazing. You saved us. You flew like Ghost," another voice finished. Captain Minho walked through the crowd in full military uniform. He looked at Jiwoo with sad eyes. "Hello, Jiwoo. It's been a long time." The crowd went silent. Someone whispered the name Ghost, others picked it up. Within seconds, everyone knew. The woman who had taught them to fly cargo shuttles was the legendary pilot from the Border Wars. Jiwoo looked at Minho. "You tracked me." "I had to," he said. "The Velcran are attacking 17 worlds simultaneously. We're losing. We need every pilot we can get. We need you. I told you why I left, I know. And I'm not asking you to become what they wanted 8 years ago. I'm asking you to do what you just did. Save people. That's all. Just save people." Jiwoo looked at the crowd, at June's hopeful face, at the colonists who... The HSS Thunderbolt was the largest warship Jiwoo had ever seen. It hung in orbit like a floating city, bristling with weapons and launch bays. Hundreds of fighters swarmed around it like insects around a hive. Captain Minho's flagship was impressive, but it couldn't hide the desperation. Jiwoo could see the damage on its hull from recent battles. Burn marks, patched armor. This ship had been fighting hard. Minho met her in the docking bay. He was professional, keeping their reunion formal in front of his crew. "Lieutenant Hana reporting for duty, sir," Jiwoo said, using the fake name they had agreed on. Her real identity was classified. Only Minho and a handful of senior officers knew who she really was. "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant," Minho replied. "You'll be assigned to Phoenix Squadron. They need a replacement pilot." The words replacement pilot said everything. Someone had died. Someone was always dying in war. Phoenix Squadron's ready room was quiet when Jiwoo entered. 3 pilots sat around a table not talking, just staring at nothing. They looked up when she walked in. Their eyes were hollow. These were people who had seen too much death. "New meat," one of them said. A woman in her late 20s with short hair and tired eyes. "I'm Lieutenant Deho, squadron leader. How many combat hours do you have?" "Enough," Jiwoo said simply. A younger pilot, maybe 20 years old, laughed bitterly. "Enough? Lady, we lost 4 pilots last week. 4. They all thought they had enough experience. You'll be dead in 3 days maximum." "Nari, shut up," Deho said, but there was no heat in his voice, just exhaustion. The third pilot, an older woman with gray in her hair, studied Jiwoo carefully. I'm Salman. You seem calm for someone joining a squadron with an 80% casualty rate. Being nervous doesn't help anyone survive, Jiwoo replied. Cold, Nari muttered. Great, we get a cold one this time. Jiwoo didn't respond. She understood their hostility. They had watched their friends die. Now another stranger showed up, someone they would probably have to watch die too. Why bother getting to know her? The next morning, Minho ordered training exercises. Phoenix Squadron launched into empty space to practice formations. Jiwoo followed their lead, staying quiet, observing. Their tactics were outdated, predictable. They flew in straight lines, making themselves easy targets. No wonder they were dying. Daeho was cautious, maybe too cautious. He held back when he should have been aggressive. Soman was solid but mechanical, following textbook maneuvers without creativity, and Nari was reckless, breaking formation constantly to showboat. Hana, you're too far back, Daeho said over the communication channel. Close up the formation. Jiwoo obeyed, but she wanted to tell him the formation was wrong in the first place. Tight formations looked good in training, but in real combat against the Velcron, they were death traps. The aliens would just fire into the center and kill everyone at once. After an hour, they returned to the Thunderbolt. In the ready room, Nari cornered Jiwoo. You fly like you're scared, the young pilot said. If you're going to die, at least die with some style. I'm not planning to die, Jiwoo said. Nari laughed. Nobody plans to die. But we all do eventually. This is war. The Velcron are faster, stronger, and there are more of them. We're just buying time until humanity loses. That's a terrible attitude, Jiwoo said. That's reality, Nari shot back. But hey, you'll figure it out when they kill you. Jiwoo walked away. She found Soman in the hangar, checking her fighter's weapon systems. Don't mind Nari, Soman said without looking up. She's been like that since her best friend died 3 weeks ago. They flew together for 2 years. Now that girl is space dust. How do you deal with it? Jiwoo asked. Soman finally looked at her. I don't, none of us do. We just keep flying until we don't anymore. That's the job. She paused. You're different, though. Something about the way you fly. You've seen real combat before, haven't you? Jiwoo chose her words carefully. I've seen some. More than some, I think, Soman said. Stay alive, Hana. We could use someone who knows what they're doing. 3 days later, Phoenix Squadron got their orders. A medical station near the border was under Velcron attack. Dozens of wounded soldiers and civilians were trapped there. Phoenix Squadron would defend the station until evacuation was complete. They launched into hyperspace. The journey took 6 hours. Jiwoo spent the time studying Velcron tactics on her personal console. Nothing had changed. The aliens still used the same swarming patterns, the same aggressive rushes. If anything, their tactics had gotten simpler, more brutal. They were confident now. They thought they had already won. When they dropped out of hyperspace near the medical station, Jiwoo's sensors immediately lit up. 20 Velcron fighters. The medical station's shields were failing. Evacuation shuttles were trying to launch but couldn't while under fire. Phoenix Squadron, engage at will, Daeho ordered. Protect those shuttles. The squadron dove into battle. Daeho led them in a standard attack formation, approaching the Velcron head-on. Jiwoo wanted to scream. Going straight at them was suicide. The Velcron would just focus fire and tear them apart. And that's exactly what happened. Within 30 seconds, the Velcron had surrounded them. Nari broke formation and tried to dogfight alone. She got 1 kill, but then 3 Velcron got on her tail. Soman tried to help but ended up in a crossfire. Daeho was shouting orders, but nobody could follow them. It was chaos. Jiwoo watched Nari's fighter take a direct hit. The young pilot's shields dropped to critical. Another hit would kill her. That's when Jiwoo stopped following orders. Phoenix 3 breaking formation, she said calmly. That was her call sign. Phoenix 3. Negative Phoenix 3, Daeho said. Stay in position. Jiwoo ignored him. She gunned her engines and shot toward Nari's position. The 3 Velcron chasing Nari never saw her coming. She destroyed the first with a missile, the second with her cannons. The third tried to turn and fight, but Jiwoo pulled a maneuver she had invented years ago. She killed her forward thrusters while firing her side thrusters, making her ship slide sideways while still facing forward. The Velcron flew right into her firing line. Dead. What the hell was that? Nari gasped. Get to safety, Jiwoo ordered. Soman, break right on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark, Soman obeyed instinctively. The Velcron fighters that had been targeting her suddenly found themselves out of position. Jiwoo swept through them like they were standing still. 4 more kills in 30 seconds, all fighters on me, Jiwoo said. Her voice was calm but carried absolute authority. We're going to use the asteroid field. That's not the plan, Daeho protested. Your plan isn't working. Follow me or die here. Your choice. Jiwoo dove toward the asteroid field that ringed the medical station. It was dense, dangerous, full of rocks the size of buildings. Normal pilots avoided it. But Jiwoo wasn't normal. She flew into the field like it was empty space, weaving between asteroids without slowing down. The Velcran followed. That was their mistake. Phoenix Squadron split into pairs, Jiwoo ordered. Use the asteroids as cover. Don't chase them. Let them chase you. When they get close, use the rocks, she demonstrated. A Velcran fighter came after her, firing constantly. Jiwoo led it deeper into the field, then suddenly reversed direction using a flip turn. The Velcran couldn't match the maneuver. It slammed into an asteroid at full speed. Explosion Daeho and Nari worked together, doing what Jiwoo had shown them. They baited 2 Velcran into a narrow gap between 3 large asteroids, then split apart at the last second. The Velcran couldn't follow. They collided with each other in the rocks. 2 more explosions. Soman took out 3 Velcran by leading them into a spinning asteroid cluster. The rocks battered the alien ships until their shields failed. Then Soman finished them with precise cannon fire. Within 10 minutes, all 20 Velcran fighters were destroyed. Phoenix Squadron had taken 0 casualties. The medical station's shuttles evacuated safely. The mission was a complete success. When they returned to the Thunderbolt, the squadron sat in stunned silence in the ready room. Finally, Nari spoke. Who the hell are you? Jiwoo didn't answer. She just started unbuckling her flight suit. Daeho stood up. Those maneuvers. I've read about them. In the border wars, there was a pilot who fought like that. Soman was staring at Jiwoo with wide eyes. Ghost. You fly like Ghost. The room went very quiet. Jiwoo could feel 3 pairs of eyes on her. She could deny it, but what was the point? They had seen what she could do. That's classified, she said simply. You don't talk about it. To anyone, understood? You're really her, Nari whispered. The legend. You're actually real. I'm just a pilot, Jiwoo said. Like you. No, Daeho said firmly. You're not like us. You're something else. Something better. And if you're willing to fly with us, willing to teach us... He paused. We'll keep your secret. Won't we? Nari and Soman nodded immediately. In exchange, Daeho continued, you teach us everything. No more watching us fly into death traps. If we're going to survive this war, we need to learn to fly like you. Jiwoo looked at their faces. These weren't the same broken pilots she had met days ago. There was hope in their eyes now. Purpose. They had seen that winning was possible. That survival was possible. They just needed someone to show them how. All right, Jiwoo said, but it won't be easy. The way I fly, it takes practice. It takes discipline, and it means unlearning everything. For 3 weeks, Jiwoo trained Phoenix Squadron harder than any of them had ever been trained before. Every morning at 0500, they were in the simulators. Every afternoon, live flight exercises. Every evening, tactical briefings. She broke down their bad habits and rebuilt them from scratch. Daeho learned to be aggressive when it mattered. Nari learned to channel her recklessness into calculated risks. Soman learned to improvise instead of following the rule book. They were becoming a real team, and more importantly, they were surviving. 3 weeks without a single casualty. That was a record for Phoenix Squadron, but Jiwoo knew it wouldn't last forever. The war was getting worse. The Velcran were pushing deeper into Coalition space. 10 colonies had fallen in the past month. Earth itself was threatened. Coalition Command was mobilizing everything they had for one massive defense. The HSS Thunderbolt would lead the fleet. Dr. Yuna had become a friend during those weeks. The xenobiologist was brilliant, working day and night to understand the Velcran. She and Jiwoo often ate meals together, talking about science, about philosophy, about anything except war. I don't understand them, Yuna said one evening over terrible cafeteria food. The Velcran. They're not just aggressive. They're desperate. Everything they do screams of panic. Panic? Jiwoo asked. Yes, their attacks are too aggressive, too costly. They lose 3 ships for every one of ours they destroy. That's not sustainable. It's like they're fighting not to win, but to survive something worse. What could be worse than us? Yuna shrugged. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But their biology shows signs of evolutionary pressure, recent pressure. Something changed in their environment, and it changed fast. Before Jiwoo could respond, an announcement came over the speakers.
All personnel report to stations.
Fleet departure in 2 hours. Destination, Earth, this was it. The big battle, the one that would decide everything. Phoenix Squadron assembled in the ready room. Everyone was tense. Even Nari was quiet, her usual bravado gone. They all knew what was coming. Earth was humanity's heart. If it fell, everything fell. But before they could launch, a man in an intelligence officer's uniform entered the room. Commander Kyung. Jiwoo had seen him around the ship but never spoken to him. He had sharp eyes that seemed to see too much. Lieutenant Hana, Kyung said, I need to speak with you privately. Jiwoo's stomach tightened. I have pre-flight checks to complete. This can't wait. They went to a small conference room. Kyung closed the door and pulled up a holographic display. It showed Jiwoo's service record. The fake one she and Minho had created. Your records are very clean, Kyung said. Too clean. No one has records this perfect. No disciplinary issues. No complaints, no gaps. It's like someone manufactured you out of thin air 3 weeks ago. Captain Minho can verify my credentials, Jiwoo said carefully. Yes, he can. Which is interesting, because Captain Minho has been protecting someone's identity. I've been investigating you, Lieutenant, and the more I dig, the more I find nothing, which tells me you're hiding something significant. I'm a pilot. That's all that matters, Kyung leaned forward. Phoenix Squadron's survival rate improved the moment you arrived. You fly in ways that shouldn't be possible. Your tactics match classified combat footage from the border wars. Specifically, they match the tactics of a pilot called Ghost. Jiwoo kept her face neutral. Ghost died 8 years ago. Did she? Or did she just disappear? Because I think you're her. I think you're Han Jiwoo. And I think you're either a deserter or something worse. That's a serious accusation, Jiwoo said quietly. Then prove me wrong. Submit to a full background investigation. Let me access your genetic records. Let me verify who you really are. We're about to go into battle. This can wait. No, it can't, Kyung said. I can't have a potential security risk leading a squadron into the most important battle of this war. You're grounded until this is resolved. Rage flooded through Jiwoo. You're grounding me? Hundreds of pilots are about to die and you're worried about paperwork? I'm worried about the integrity of this fleet, Kyung snapped. For all I know, you could be a Velcran spy. The door burst open. Daeho stood there with Nari and Somin behind him. Sir, you can't ground her. We need every pilot. This is not your concern, Lieutenant, Kyung said. It is our concern, Somin said. Hana is the best pilot on this ship. She's the reason we're still alive. I don't care if she's the best pilot in the galaxy, Kyung said. She's hiding something and I won't risk this fleet on... She's Han Jiwoo. Captain Minho's voice cut through the argument like a blade. He stood in the doorway, his face grim. Ghost, she's the real Ghost I've known since I recruited her. The room fell silent. Kyung's eyes widened. Daeho, Nari, and Somin exchanged glances. They had suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. You've been harboring a deserter, Kyung said slowly. I've been utilizing our best weapon, Minho corrected. Jiwoo left the service 8 years ago because she refused an illegal order. She was commanded to destroy a civilian target. She said no. That makes her a hero, not a criminal. That's not your decision to make, Kyung said. Actually, it is. Minho's voice hardened. I'm the captain of this ship and the ranking officer in this fleet. And I'm telling you that Lieutenant Commander Han Jiwoo is reinstated to active duty. Effective immediately. She will fly in this battle. If you have a problem with that, you can file a complaint after we've saved Earth. Kyung looked like he wanted to argue, but Minho's expression made it clear the discussion was over. The intelligence officer left, his face dark with anger. When he was gone, Minho turned to Phoenix Squadron. You all heard. Spread the word. Let everyone know who she really is. Let them know Ghost has returned. Sir, Jiwoo protested. I didn't want... I know. But hiding doesn't help anyone anymore. These pilots need hope. They need to know that legends can be real, that we can win this. Minho put a hand on her shoulder. Stop hiding, Jiwoo. Be what they need you to be. Within an hour, everyone on the Thunderbolt knew. The whispers spread like fire. Ghost is real. Ghost is here. Ghost is fighting with us. Jiwoo saw it in people's faces as she walked to the hangar. Hope, fear, awe, expectation. These people thought she could save them. That was a terrible burden to carry. Phoenix Squadron gathered around her fighter. Deho spoke first. We always knew there was something special about you. Now we know what. You're the pilot we all wanted to be. I'm just a person, Jiwoo said. I make mistakes. I've failed before. But you never stopped trying, Nari said. That's what matters. You never gave up, Soman smiled. Whatever happens in this battle, I'm proud to fly with you. With Ghost? Jiwoo looked at her squadron. 3 pilots who had been broken weeks ago. Now they stood tall, confident, ready. She had done that. She had given them something to believe in. The fleet launched for Earth. 300 ships, humanity's entire military force. Against them, the Velcran brought 3,000. 10-to-1 odds. Impossible odds. But Jiwoo had fought impossible odds before. When they dropped out of hyperspace near Earth, the sight took her breath away. The planet was surrounded by Velcran ships. They were everywhere, blocking out the stars. Green energy beams cut through space. Human ships were already dying. All fighters launch. Minho's voice came over the communication system. Phoenix Squadron, you have point. Show them what humans can do. Jiwoo sealed her helmet and started her engine. Through the squadron channel, she spoke to her team. Remember everything I taught you. Stay together, trust each other, and no matter what happens, we make them pay for every inch. Copy that, Ghost, Deho said. They launched into hell. The battle was chaos. Velcran fighters swarmed like insects. Human ships fired desperately. Explosions bloomed everywhere. It was the biggest battle Jiwoo had ever seen. The biggest battle anyone had ever seen. Phoenix Squadron dove into the enemy formation. Jiwoo led them through impossible maneuvers using debris fields and destroyed ships as cover. They fought as one perfect unit, each pilot knowing exactly where the others would be. They were an extension of Jiwoo's will, dancing through death with precision. 15 Velcran down, then 20, then 30. Other squadrons saw what Phoenix was doing and tried to copy their tactics. Some succeeded, most didn't. Flying like Ghost required more than just copying moves. It required a different way of thinking, but humans were learning. That was humanity's secret weapon. They adapted faster than any species in the galaxy. What seemed impossible in the morning became standard procedure by evening. Squadron by squadron, the human pilots were matching the Velcran. The battle raged for 6 hours. Jiwoo lost track of her kill count. Her fighter systems were barely functional. Her shields were gone. Her fuel was at 15%. But Phoenix Squadron was still intact. All 4 of them still fighting. Then Dr. Yuna's voice came over the command channel, urgent and excited. I've figured it out. The Velcran. I know what's wrong with them. Not now, Doctor, Minho said. We're in the middle of a battle. That's exactly why this matters. They're not attacking us because they hate us. They're running from something that scares them more than death, something that's destroying their homeworlds. They need our space to survive. The Velcran command ship was massive, 3 times larger than any other vessel in their fleet. It hung in the center of their formation like a queen surrounded by soldiers. Getting to it meant flying through hundreds of enemy fighters. It meant certain death for any normal squadron, but Phoenix Squadron wasn't normal anymore. This is suicide, Soman said over the communication channel, but her voice was steady. She would follow anyway, probably, Jiwoo admitted. But if Dr. Yuna is right, if we can talk to them, we might end this war without killing everyone. Isn't that worth trying? Silence on the channel. Then Daiho spoke. All right, Ghost, we trust you. How do we do this? Jiwoo's mind was already working through the calculations. Distance, enemy positions, attack vectors, timing. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake and they would all die. We use the chaos, she said. The battle is everywhere. We fly through it, using the fighting as cover. Stay close to larger ships, use their shields when ours fail, and when we get to the command ship, we board it. Board it? Nari's voice went high. You want us to land on a hostile alien warship? I want you to follow my lead. Can you do that? Yes, all 3 responded together. They dove back into the battle. Jiwoo led them through a field of burning wreckage, using destroyed coalition ships as shields from Velcran fire. A human battleship exploded to their right, and Jiwoo immediately flew into the expanding cloud of debris. The Velcran couldn't track them through all the metal and fire. They came out behind a group of enemy fighters. Phoenix Squadron destroyed them quickly, brutally. No mercy, no hesitation. This was war. But maybe it didn't have to be war forever. A Velcran cruiser blocked their path. Its weapons charged, ready to fire. But before it could, the HSS Thunderbolt swept in from above, its massive cannons tearing into the alien ship. Captain Minho's voice came through. "Ghost, I'm seeing your approach vector. You're going for the command ship." "I'll provide cover." "Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. Just don't get killed." The Thunderbolt positioned itself between Phoenix Squadron and the worst of the fighting. Its shields absorbed hundreds of hits while Jiwoo and her team flew beneath it, protected. They were getting closer to the command ship. 200 meters. 150. The command ship's defensive turrets opened fire. Somin took a direct hit. Her fighter's wing exploded, sending her spinning. "Somin!" Nari screamed. "I'm still here." Somin's voice was strained but calm. "Ship's damaged. Engines failing. I can't keep up." Jiwoo saw 3 Velcran fighters moving to finish Somin off. There was no time to think. She broke formation and flew straight at them. Her cannons were almost empty, but she didn't need many shots. 3 quick bursts. 3 explosions. The Velcran were dead, but the maneuver had cost her. She was out of position now, separated from Daiho and Nari. And more Velcran were coming, at least 20 of them surrounding her fighter. "Ghost, get out of there," Daiho shouted. "Too many," Jiwoo said. Her fuel was at 5%. Weapons at 2%. Shields gone. This was it. This was where she died. She had always known it would end like this. Then Somin's damaged fighter rammed into the nearest Velcran ship. The explosion took out 4 more aliens in the blast radius. "Somin, no." Nari's voice broke. "Make it mean something," Somin said, her voice fading with static. "Finish this, Ghost. Make all of this mean something." Then her signal went dead. Rage and grief flooded through Jiwoo. Another friend dead. Another person sacrificed. This war had taken everything from everyone. Her brother. Her squadron. Now Somin. When would it end? It ends now, she thought. It ends today. Jiwoo flew through the gap Somin had created. Daiho and Nari caught up, their fighters flanking hers. Together, the 3 of them reached the command ship's hull. Jiwoo found a docking port and latched on. The others did the same. "Explosive charges," she ordered. "Blow the door." They set charges on the hull. The explosion created an opening. Atmosphere vented into space, then emergency shields kicked in, sealing the breach. Jiwoo, Daiho, and Nari climbed out of their fighters and into the alien ship, wearing their flight suits as makeshift armor. The interior was dark and wrong. Everything was curved, organic-looking. It smelled strange. They moved through narrow corridors, following Jiwoo's tactical scanner toward the command center. Velcran soldiers appeared, chittering in their alien language, firing weapons. The humans fought back with sidearms. Daiho took a hit to his shoulder and went down. "Keep moving," he gasped. "I'll hold them here." "Daiho," Nari started. "Go," he ordered. "That's your commander speaking. Follow Ghost, finish this." Jiwoo and Nari ran deeper into the ship. More Velcran attacked. They fought through corridors slick with alien blood and human. Nari was crying as she fired her weapon, tears streaming down her face inside her helmet. But she didn't stop. She never stopped. They reached the command center. The door was sealed. Jiwoo used her last explosive charge to blow it open. Inside, a single Velcran stood waiting, larger than the others with elaborate markings on its shell. The commander. It didn't attack. It just watched them with compound eyes that reflected the emergency lights. "Dr. Yuna," Jiwoo said into her communicator. "I need you to translate. Transmit through my suit speaker." "I'm here," Yuna's voice responded. "The translation program is crude, but it should work." Jiwoo faced the alien commander. "We know you're running from something. We know you attacked us because you're desperate. What are you running from?" The Velcran made clicking sounds. Yuna's translation came through the speaker. "Death, the Devourers come. They consume all. Worlds, stars, life, we had no choice. Fight you or face extinction." "The Devourers," Jiwoo repeated. "What are they?" "Machines. Old machines. From before the first civilizations. They sleep for thousands of years. Then wake, then kill everything. We tried to fight, we lost. Only choice was run. Your space was nearest. We attacked, we sorry. But survival greater than sorry." Jiwoo felt something shift inside her. This alien had killed humans. Its species had murdered her brother. But standing here listening to its desperate explanation, she couldn't feel only hate. She felt something else. Understanding. "If we help you fight the Devourers," Jiwoo said slowly. "If we stand together. Will you stop attacking us?" The Velcran commander tilted its head. Why help? We are enemies. Because that's what humans do, Jiwoo said. We help those who need it. Even enemies. Even those who hurt us. Because killing everyone doesn't solve anything. It just makes more death. She thought about 8 years ago. The order to destroy the civilian station. The order she had refused. If she had followed that order, thousands of Velcran children would have died. Maybe one of them would have grown up to be this commander. And then this conversation would never happen. Sometimes the right choice looked like weakness. But it wasn't. It was the hardest, strongest thing anyone could do. If we stop fighting each other, Jiwoo continued, we can fight the real enemy together. Humans and Velcran, against the Devourers, against extinction. What do you say? The Velcran was silent for a long moment. Then it made more clicking sounds. You are strange. We kill your people. You offer alliance. This is human way. This is the human way, Jiwoo confirmed. We don't give up. And we don't abandon those in need, even if they're enemies. The alien commander seemed to consider this. Finally, it reached forward with a clawed hand. A gesture of peace in its culture, Yuna explained. Jiwoo reached out and touched the claw with her gloved hand. I tell my fleet, the Velcran said. Stop attacking, we talk. Maybe we survive together. Maybe. Jiwoo activated her communicator to broadcast on all frequencies, human and Velcran. This is Lieutenant Commander Han Jiwoo to all ships. Ceasefire. I repeat, ceasefire. The Velcran have agreed to talks. The war is over. We have a new enemy to face together. The response was immediate chaos. Some ships stopped firing. Others didn't. Arguments erupted across the communication channels. Humans calling her a traitor. Velcran not believing their commander. But slowly, gradually, the firing stopped. Ships on both sides pulled back. Confused, uncertain, but willing to try. Captain Minho's voice came through, full of emotion. Jiwoo, what have you done? What I should have done 8 years ago, she replied. I chose not to kill when killing seemed like the only option. I chose to be human. The Battle of Earth ended not with glorious victory or crushing defeat, but with silence. 2 fleets that had been killing each other minutes ago now floated in space, watching each other, waiting. It took 3 days to establish real communication. 3 days of tense negotiations. 3 days of translators and diplomats. But on the 4th day, Coalition Command and the Velcran leadership signed a ceasefire. Temporary at first, then permanent when the Velcran shared their data on the Devourers. When everyone saw what was coming from deep space, they understood. The Velcran hadn't been lying. Something terrible was approaching. Something that would kill everyone if they didn't stand together. 6 months later, Jiwoo stood at the memorial wall on the Thunderbolt. New names had been added. Somin, Daeho, who had died from his wounds before help reached him, Taehyun, her brother, and thousands of others who had fallen in the war. I'm sorry, she whispered to the names. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. But I promise your deaths meant something. We're better now. Humans and Velcran working together. Because of what?